Welcome to Top Story Audio. Today, we bring you the story of an extraordinary individual, a person surrounded by countless mysteries, some of which even science has yet to explain. That person is none other than Grandmaster Li Hongzhi. Grandmaster Li Hongzhi was born on May 13, 1951, April 8th in the lunar calendar, in Gongjuling City. This place, blessed by nature, is known for its picturesque landscapes, vast forests, and fresh air. It is a region rich in tradition, located in Jilin Province, not far from the Changbai Mountains, an area steeped in ancient legends and mysteries. Grandmaster Li was born into an ordinary intellectual family, growing up in the serene embrace of nature and the deep cultural heritage of this land. From an early age, Grandmaster Li Hongzhi exhibited qualities that set him apart from his peers. As a child, he displayed intelligence and a calm demeanor, observing the world around him with a profound gaze. Unlike other playful children, he showed maturity and composure beyond his years. Despite his young age, he possessed an understanding that far exceeded that of his peers, as if his mind harbored thoughts deeper than those of ordinary people. Beyond his intelligence, he was also known for his kindness and strong sense of responsibility. At home, he proactively helped his parents with household chores, such as cooking, lighting fires, cleaning, and taking care of his younger siblings. He never complained or showed signs of fatigue, but carried out every task with dedication and care. Among his friends, he was regarded as trustworthy and compassionate. The children in the village enjoyed playing with him because his presence brought them a strange sense of peace. He never quarreled with anyone, always showed patience, and exuded an aura of benevolence. It was as if he possessed a special kind of magnetism, a presence that made those around him feel secure and at ease. From a young age, Grandmaster Li Hongzhi was different from his peers. Not only did he possess remarkable intelligence and a kind heart, but he also demonstrated a rare depth of inner wisdom. It seemed as if destiny had already paved the way for him, guiding him toward a path of cultivation and the unraveling of timeless mysteries. Grandmaster Li Hongzhi began his journey of cultivation at a very young age. According to accounts from various masters, they had been watching over and protecting him even before he was born. However, it was not until he turned 4 that Grandmaster Li Hongzhi gradually became aware that he was never alone. There were always mysterious masters guiding him, carefully shaping his cultivation path in preparation for an extraordinary mission in the future. His first master was the great monk Quan Jue, the 10th generation successor of an exclusive Buddhist lineage. Under his master's guidance, he began training his character and cultivating his inner self from an early age. Unlike conventional training methods that focus on physical movements, he was instead taught principles and ways to refine himself internally. Like many esoteric practices, his master ensured that no outsiders witnessed his training. As a result, despite years of cultivation, those around him remained unaware that he was walking a path of spiritual practice. To the outside world, he appeared to be just an ordinary boy, no different from other children. However, signs of his cultivation and character refinement sometimes manifested in challenging ways. When playing with his peers, if conflicts arose, he would often be pushed to the ground for no reason. On one occasion, he was even injured to the point of bleeding. Whenever he felt a sense of resistance in his heart, as if by some invisible force, more children would gang up on him. Only when he completely let go of his competitive mindset did these challenges cease, and at that moment, his master would simply smile knowingly. At the age of 8, Grandmaster Li Hongzhi suddenly sensed something unusual about his eyes, as if something invisible had appeared. At first, it was blurry, but over time, 3 words, truthfulness, compassion, forbearance, gradually became clear before him. Strangely, no one else could see these words, yet he could perceive them at any time. His master explained, truthfulness means being genuine, acting with integrity, speaking honestly, not deceiving or lying. If one makes a mistake, they should not hide it, but face it openly, for ultimately, a cultivator seeks to attain the realm of returning to one's true nature. Compassion means kindness, not bullying others, showing empathy for the weak, helping those in need, and finding joy in doing good deeds while accumulating virtue through righteous actions. Forbearance means tolerance, remaining steadfast in adversity, enduring humiliation without resentment or hatred. A true cultivator can endure suffering that ordinary people cannot even fathom. From that moment on, Grandmaster Li Hongzhi's extraordinary abilities gradually emerged. While playing hide and seek with friends, he only needed to think, "They won't see me." And instantly, no one could find him. Even when a flashlight shone directly on his face, people still failed to notice his presence. On one occasion, a large rusty iron nail was deeply embedded in a wooden beam. The other children tried with all their strength to pull it out, but failed. However, with just a gentle tug, he effortlessly removed it, as if it had never been hammered in. While playing in the snow, he could jump higher than anyone else, as if his feet were unaffected by gravity. Another time, he saw two people fighting and thought to himself, "That person won't be able to move over there." Strangely enough, the individual suddenly found it difficult to advance. His supernatural abilities became more apparent over time. Once, he accidentally left his school bag in the classroom. By the time he returned, the school gate had been locked. He thought, "How can I get inside?" And in an instant, he found himself within the school grounds. Then he thought, "I need my school bag." And in the blink of an eye, it was in his hands. Finally, he told himself, "Now I need to get out." And as if guided by an invisible force, he found himself outside again without opening the gate. On another occasion, out of curiosity, he wondered, what would it feel like to stand inside a mirror? The moment this thought crossed his mind, he suddenly found himself surrounded by transparent glass. The sensation was bizarre and unsettling. His entire body seemed to merge with the glass, and the air around him thickened. Alarmed, he immediately thought of leaving, and at that very moment, he returned to normal. At the age of 8, Grandmaster Li Hongzhi was still unaware of the concept of extraordinary abilities. He naively assumed that everyone could do the same things he did, until later, when he realized he was walking a path entirely different from that of ordinary people. From a young age, Grandmaster Li Hongzhi always put others before himself, helping people as naturally as breathing. Even in the smallest matters, he would think of others first. While walking on the street, if he saw a stone lying in the middle of the path, he would pick it up and move it aside, simply because he was worried that someone might trip over it. One time, when he was in elementary school, he was on his way to school, passing by the southern lakeside, when he suddenly heard a desperate cry. "Someone has fallen into the water." Without a moment's hesitation, he immediately dived into the lake, fully clothed. Within moments, he had reached the drowning person. In a calm yet powerful voice, he said, "Hold your breath for a moment. Don't struggle. I will save you." The man, sensing the steadiness in the boy's words, followed his instructions. Thanks to this, the rescue went smoothly. Only after bringing the man safely to shore did he realize that the man was much bigger and taller than himself. Such rescues were not rare in his life, but he never spoke of them to anyone. To him, helping others was not about seeking recognition. It was simply the natural expression of compassion. Even as a child, his deep kindness was evident. Whenever he watched movies or read books, if he came across a scene where a good person was wronged or suffered, he couldn't hold back his tears. The pain of others seemed to pierce directly into his heart, filling him with sorrow and empathy. This compassion was an inseparable part of him from his earliest years. When he was 12 years old, Master Quanjue looked at him and said, "Exceptional masters will come to teach you the essence of their disciplines." And then, that day arrived. The first to appear was Baji Genren, who took him to a secluded place where not a single soul could be seen. There, under the silent night sky, he began training in the internal and external cultivation methods of the Taoist tradition, persistently practicing horse stance and standing meditation for over an hour. Sweat poured down like rain, soaking through layer after layer of clothing. Yet Grandmaster Li Hongzhi's body gradually became more flexible and resilient, as soft as cotton. Night after night, through summers and winters, no one knew that he was tirelessly training. His once soft hands became calloused, his clothes drenched in sweat. But his efforts were never in vain. Even in his youth, Grandmaster Li Hongzhi had already reached the pinnacle of worldly martial arts, laying the foundation for an extraordinary journey ahead. After 1974, when the great Tao master departed, a female Buddhist master appeared, bringing with her profound teachings and mystical cultivation methods of Buddhism. At that time, Master Li Hongzhi was only 23 or 24 years old, yet his spiritual power had already reached extraordinarily high levels. In 1982, he left the military and transferred to work in Changchun City. From then on, his path of cultivation became even more arduous. Each passing day was a test, and every step forward was met with unpredictable obstacles. For more than 10 years afterward, each time he reached a new level, a master would appear to guide him further. But at the same time, new hardships would arise, each one even harsher than the last. The challenges he faced were beyond what an ordinary person could imagine or endure. After decades of arduous cultivation, Master Li Hongzhi not only attained the pinnacle of spiritual skill, but more importantly, he comprehended the truth of the universe. He saw the beauty that had existed in the cosmos since ancient times, the profound origins of humanity, the evolution of mankind through different eras, and even the mysteries of the future that few could perceive. Despite possessing supreme spiritual abilities and vast wisdom, to those around him, Master Li Hongzhi remained a simple, introverted, and somewhat reserved individual. His colleagues saw him as nothing more than an honest, sincere, and approachable person. He never competed with anyone, nor did he seek fame or personal gain. Some who did not understand him thought he was foolish, because he did not take what he deserved or claim what was rightfully his. However, in reality, he had reached the state of wu wei, non-action, where worldly desires and personal interests held no meaning. To him, everything followed the natural course, and he viewed life with serenity and detachment. Even when blamed or wronged, he merely smiled gently, never taking it to heart. In the cultivation world, a mysterious story has been passed down. When a living Buddha is about to reincarnate, he transfers his spiritual abilities to another cultivator. Upon returning through reincarnation, that person then returns the abilities to the living Buddha, allowing him to continue his path to enlightenment. Generation after generation, this sacred practice is passed on, making it nearly impossible for outsiders to distinguish the true transmission. On May 27, 1996, in his article Awakening, Master Li Hongzhi revealed a profound truth. In fact, what my worldly masters have imparted to me today is precisely what I intentionally enabled them to obtain in past lives. When the destined time arrives, I arrange for them to return and pass it back to me, thereby enlightening me to the entirety of my law. A miraculous journey of reincarnation, a mission transcending time, and a path of cultivation that penetrates the ultimate truth of the universe. After years of preparation, Master Li Hongzhi was ready to introduce Falun Dafa, Falun Gong, a cultivation system based on the highest principles of the universe. In Zhuan Falun, he wrote, Taoist cultivation follows truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, with a primary focus on truth. Thus, Taoists emphasize cultivating true nature, speaking truthfully, acting truthfully, becoming a true person, and ultimately returning to one's original true self. However, they also practice forbearance and compassion, though truth remains the core. The Buddhist school, on the other hand, focuses on cultivating compassion within truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. By cultivating compassion, one develops a heart of great benevolence. Once this benevolent heart emerges, one perceives the suffering of sentient beings and thus generates the aspiration to save them. However, there is also truth, and there is forbearance, though the focus is on cultivating compassion. Our Falun Dafa follows the highest standard of the universe, simultaneously cultivating truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Thus, our practice is immensely powerful. From this point, a great cultivation practice was introduced, opening the path of righteous cultivation, helping people elevate both physically and spiritually, while seeking the profound truths of the universe. Before spreading the teachings, Master Li Hongzhi foresaw that in the future, countless people would come to practice Falun Gong. To minimize any disruptions to modern life, from the very beginning, he chose to live a simple life, blending into the community as an ordinary person. He understood that practitioners would follow his words and actions, so his daily life was modest and unassuming. Unlike many other Qigong masters, Master Li Hongzhi did not require vegetarianism. He ate the same foods as others, though he was never picky or extravagant in his meals. He also married, had children, and lived a life like any other person in the world. However, in his heart, he carried the great vow of spreading the teachings and guiding sentient beings onto the path of righteous cultivation. In 1991, at the age of 40, Master Li Hongzhi was preparing to introduce Falun Gong to the public. However, as early as 1984, he had already begun secretly teaching a select group of disciples in a lineage that had traditionally been passed down privately through generations. He also refined the practice to make it accessible to modern people with busy lives. One should not assume that cultivation consists of just a few simple stretching exercises. What manifests and evolves in other dimensions is incredibly intricate and delicately designed. Even the slightest adjustment is no easy task. Since this was his own law, Master Li Hongzhi alone could make such refinements. When teaching the practice in modern society, he encountered individuals with varying moral qualities, levels of understanding, and physical conditions. How could he ensure that as many people as possible could benefit from Falun Gong, both physically and spiritually? Master Li Hongzhi dedicated great effort to resolving this challenge. By 1989, when the practice was fully established, he took in a small group of disciples to ensure everything was perfected and to uphold his responsibility to society. After 2 years of observation, he saw that these disciples had reached remarkably high levels. For example, in other Qigong practices, achieving the state of 3 flowers gathering at the crown could take 10 or even decades of years, yet his disciples reached this level in just 2 years. This demonstrated the advanced and extraordinary nature of Falun Gong. Falun Gong is founded on thousands of years of Chinese cultivation culture, vast and profoundly deep. To truly understand Falun Gong, the best approach is to read Zhuan Falun multiple times with a calm mind, free from any preconceived notions. Master Li Hongzhi stated that he had placed everything within Zhuan Falun. In short, Falun Gong is a cultivation practice based on the 3 principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. The most distinguishing feature of this practice is that Master Li Hongzhi installs the Falun law wheel for those who genuinely cultivate Falun Gong. The Falun is a high-energy, intelligent substance that constantly rotates and exists in other dimensions. True cultivators read the original Falun Dafa books, watch and listen to Master Li Hongzhi's lectures, and practice together with Falun Gong practitioners. As long as one sincerely cultivates, anyone can obtain this incredibly precious Falun free of charge. The Falun rotates inward to refine the practitioner, absorbing vast amounts of cosmic energy and transforming it into Gong, cultivation energy. It also rotates outward to save others, emitting energy, benefiting all beings, and correcting all abnormal states. Those around a practitioner also receive blessings. As a result, Falun Gong cultivators achieve a continuous state of the law cultivates the person. This is a great Dafa that elevates morality, bringing benefits without harm, both to individuals and to society as a whole. The arduous journey of spreading the teachings by Master Li Hongzhi. When Master Li Hongzhi first began teaching Falun Gong, he faced countless difficulties. With the aspiration to offer salvation to sentient beings, he decided to keep the tuition fees extremely low, just over 20 yuan for a 9-day course. This amount barely covered travel expenses, food, and printing materials, leaving almost nothing left over after each class. During his travels to spread the practice, Master Li always chose the cheapest means of transportation, trains. Due to financial constraints, he often had to sit in hard seats for the entire journey. He carried with him a simple woven bag, inside which were small booklets like an Introduction to Qigong, along with numerous packs of instant noodles, his staple food during those arduous trips. Occasionally, when conditions allowed, he would treat himself to a bowl of noodles from a roadside stall. Over the course of 2 years, he conducted 54 instructional sessions, and the disciples who accompanied him also had to adapt to a frugal lifestyle. Instant noodles became their main food, to the point that many developed an aversion to eating them. Seeing this, Master Li simply smiled and said, "Following me, you all have had to endure hardships." After the lectures and exercises, Master Li's teachings were recorded and compiled into the manuscript, Falun Gong of China. However, the greatest difficulty at the time was the lack of funds for publishing the book. Fortunately, a kind-hearted person was willing to lend 5,000 yuan. As soon as the book was published and sales generated income, Master Li promptly repaid the borrowed amount. Later, as conditions improved, Zhuan Falun, the most important book of Falun Gong, was also published. With the support of some financially well-off disciples, the publication and organization of instructional classes became more efficient. From 1992 to 1996, Falun Gong experienced rapid growth in China. Due to its remarkable effects in improving health and curing illnesses, along with Master Li Hongzhi's teachings on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, the practice resonated strongly with the public. During those years, Master Li personally taught Falun Gong in a total of 23 cities and provinces, including Changchun, Beijing, Guang County in Shandong Province, Taiwan, Wuhan, Guangzhou, Linqing in Shandong, Guiyang, Qiqihar, Chongqing, Hefei, Kenli in Shandong, Lingyuan in Liaoning, Shijiazhuang, Dalian, Jinzhou, Chengdu, Zhengzhou, Jinan, Quanzhou in Hunan, Harbin, and Yanji in Jilin Province. Notably, no classes were held in Shanghai, China's largest and most modern city, while Beijing, the capital of China, hosted the most sessions, with 13 classes in total. Changchun had 7 classes, and Guangzhou had 5. Subsequently, 60,000 practitioners, like seeds, quickly spread Falun Gong across China. Before long, the number of practitioners grew exponentially, far beyond expectations. During those years, scenes of practitioners gathering to do Falun Gong exercises in the early morning along Chang'an Avenue, Beijing's main thoroughfare, became a familiar sight. They stood in long rows, gracefully performing the movements, immersed in a peaceful and serene atmosphere. However, Beijing was also the political center of the Chinese Communist Party. A movement that developed so rapidly and attracted such a large following naturally drew the suspicion of the highest-ranking authorities in the government. Master Li Hongzhi once recounted that at that time, the authorities were looking for ways to make things difficult for him. However, they encountered a problem. They couldn't find a convincing reason. Their investigation revealed that, first, he had no money. Second, he did not date women. Third, he did not own any real estate. Unlike many wealthy and influential Qigong masters who were surrounded by supporters, Master Li continued to live a simple life in his younger brother's apartment near the military museum in Beijing. As a result, attempting to discipline him was no easy task. The authorities finally showed their hand. One day in 1996, a bureau chief from the Ministry of Commerce extended an invitation to Master Li Hongzhi for a meal. He did not suspect anything unusual, as in the past, many officials had used such gatherings as an opportunity to ask for his help in curing their illnesses. Thinking this was just another invitation like before, he accepted. However, as soon as they sat down at the table, the atmosphere felt different. Without any small talk, the official sitting across from him spoke directly. "At present, you have too much influence in China. You should leave this place." Those words sounded like a warning, a clear message that Master Li was no longer welcome in his own country. The journey to America. Realizing the potential dangers not only for himself, but also for his disciples in China, Master Li began seeking a way to leave the country. Thanks to his widespread reputation and positive recognition from the international community, his immigration process to the United States went smoothly. Before long, the U.S. Railroad swiftly granted him permission to settle. In 1998, Master Li, along with his wife and daughter, left China and set foot in America. Their first destination was California, but they couldn't find a suitable place for long-term residence. He then moved to Atlanta, where there were more housing options. A 2-story house was listed for $120,000, but at that time, he had almost no money. Moreover, the house was located next to a major road with constant traffic noise, making it far from an ideal place to stay. After careful consideration, he decided to leave Atlanta and head to New York, which ultimately became his final destination in the United States. Upon arriving in New York, Master Li Hongzhi's family of 3 initially stayed in a small apartment lent to them by a disciple. However, it wasn't long before Chinese agents tracked down the location, took photographs of the building, and falsely claimed it was Li Hongzhi's residence, even though it was just a simple apartment in an ordinary residential complex. Realizing the place was unsuitable, Master Li and his family moved to a modest townhouse in Flushing, purchased with the help of a disciple. However, this area was also too noisy and not conducive to quiet meditation, prompting them to relocate once again. This time, another disciple bought a secluded house in New Jersey and offered it to Master Li as a place to stay. The house was about 280 square meters, an average-sized home by American standards. However, this did not stop Chinese agents from continuing their surveillance. Once again, they came to take photos and spread propaganda, falsely claiming it was another luxurious residence of Li Hongzhi, despite the reality being far from that. By July 20th, 1999, the number of people practicing Falun Gong had grown significantly. Although they adhered to the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, promoting goodness in society, their sheer numbers surpassed even the membership of the Chinese Communist Party. This led then General Secretary Jiang Zemin to unilaterally order a crackdown on Falun Gong, despite opposition from other Politburo Standing Committee members. This persecution was not only driven by fears of losing political control, but also represented an unprecedented suppression of thought and belief. As the situation intensified, the persecution in China escalated. To protect his family, Master Li arranged for his wife and daughter to leave their home in New Jersey and take refuge at a location provided by another disciple. Once his family's safety was secured, he embarked on a unique journey, driving across the United States, constantly moving to evade Chinese agents tracking him. This nomadic lifestyle lasted for nearly a year. It was a period of continuous travel along American highways, where the next destination was always uncertain, and only the road ahead was certain. It was a time filled with hardship and challenges. By 2000, a disciple purchased a piece of land in the mountains of New York State, about a 2-hour drive from Manhattan. Today, this location is home to Longquan Temple. At that time, the land was still undeveloped, with only a single small one-story house standing amidst vast nature. Without hesitation, Master Li and a few disciples moved there, temporarily residing in the small house. From then on, they began building the place step by step, brick by brick, structure by structure, turning it into a true retreat for spiritual cultivation. In the year 2000, a disciple purchased a plot of land in the mountains of New York State, about a 2-hour drive from Manhattan. This very location later became Longquan Temple. Apart from a small house, the area was entirely undeveloped. Whenever he had free time, Master Li would stay in this small house and, along with several disciples, gradually begin the temple's construction. Due to the severe persecution in mainland China, many children whose parents practiced Falun Gong became orphans. This temple became a refuge for Falun Gong practitioners in exile, especially these orphaned children. In the early days, no one had much money, so everything was funded personally by the disciples. Whatever tools were missing, they would purchase themselves. Most of the work was done manually, step by step, to build this place. It took years of hard work and continuous dedication before the buildings started to take shape. Only after several years, when Shenyun began operating and generating income, did the situation gradually improve. Out of respect for Master Li, many disciples sent him large quantities of tea. As a result, Longquan Temple opened a tea room, using this tea to serve guests while also offering light refreshments. Initially, some suggested charging a small fee, but Master Li insisted that the tea room should not take any money. Why? Partly because many of those who came to drink tea were volunteers working at Longquan Temple. They had already contributed so much, how could they be charged? Later, when disciples from outside sent food and other supplies to Master Li, he instructed that they be brought to the tea room or shared with everyone. Thus, Master Li Hongzhi lived a simple life at Longquan Temple for many years. He remained indifferent to material possessions, dedicating himself solely to helping people cultivate the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Every day he spent time guiding his disciples, sharing teachings on morality and the art of living in tranquility. He did not just teach through words. He led by example, engaging in tasks as small as sweeping the courtyard and making tea to those as profound as guiding and advising those who had lost their way. With the deep values that Master Li Hongzhi has imparted to humanity, he is known not only as a spiritual teacher, but also as a symbol of kindness and integrity. He devoted his life to guiding people toward truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, helping them find light amid the chaos of life. Unconcerned with fame or fortune, he lived simply, using morality as his foundation and compassion as his way of touching people's hearts. His teachings were not rigid doctrines, but profound truths distilled from wisdom and benevolence, resonating with millions worldwide. People respect him not only for his vast knowledge, but also for his noble character, a man willing to endure hardship for the benefit of others. Like a refreshing spring nourishing arid land, he brought faith to those who were lost, offering hope to souls in need of salvation. Despite persecution and misunderstanding, he remained steadfast on his path, unshaken by the storms of life. The deep love and reverence people have for him stem not only from admiration, but also from profound gratitude for a man who has dedicated his entire life to truth and humanity. A Falun Gong practitioner wrote in a birthday card for Master Li Hongzhi's 59th birthday, "If a doctor cures me of an incurable disease, I will be grateful to them for life. If a teacher teaches me the true meaning of life, I will forever revere them. If someone saves me from the brink of destruction, I will never forget their kindness for as long as I live, and you are that benefactor." These words can be said to represent the heartfelt sentiments of the hundreds of millions of Falun Gong practitioners. In the 2007 ranking of the top 100 contemporary geniuses, Master Li Hongzhi, the founder of Falun Gong, was ranked 12th, making him the most globally influential contemporary Chinese figure. In 2009, Master Li Hongzhi was honored with the Spiritual Leadership Award and was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 4 times. On January 20th, 2023, Master Li Hongzhi published an article titled "Why There Is Mankind" in the Epoch Times, causing a global sensation. The article reveals profound truths about the origin of humanity, the nature of the universe, and the purpose of human existence. It is one of the rare instances where Master Li directly explains the meaning of life, particularly in a time when the world is undergoing great transformations. The article emphasizes that the universe goes through 4 stages: formation, stasis, degeneration, and destruction. Currently, the universe is in its final stage, destruction, where everything will be completely dissolved. To save beings from annihilation, the Creator established the earth and the 3 realms, including the desire realm, form realm, and formless realm, as a place where humans can cultivate and be saved. Humans were created by divine beings in their own image, leading to the emergence of different races, white, yellow, and black, but all share a universal moral foundation. The purpose of human life is not to live forever on earth, but to await the arrival of the Creator, who would impart the Fa and offer salvation. However, over the course of history, humanity has gradually degenerated, losing traditional moral values and chasing after materialism and worldly desires, leading the world into chaos. In the article, Master Li warns that time is running out and that this is humanity's final opportunity for salvation. Only by reviving morality and following the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance can people transcend calamities and return to the heavenly realm. The article, "Why There Is Mankind," is not just a reminder of humanity's sacred mission, but also a wake-up call during this critical moment in human history. On October 1st, 2024, Master Li Hongzhi published another article in the Epoch Times titled, "Why Is Human Society Deluded?" as a continuation of the profound truths he had previously explained in "Why There Is Mankind." This time, Master Li focused on elucidating the nature of delusion in human society, why people cannot perceive the true reality of the universe, and how they can escape this state of confusion. The article emphasizes that since the creation of mankind, people have been placed in a state of delusion, unable to see the truth of the universe, and unable to remember the origin of their existence. This state of delusion was not accidental, but deliberately arranged to create a challenging environment in which humans could cultivate and elevate their character. In human society, everything is set up to make people believe that the material world is the only reality, leading them to pursue wealth, fame, and desires while neglecting morality and spiritual cultivation. Those deeply lost in delusion, under the influence of atheism, modern science, and acquired notions, find it difficult to recognize the truth. This is why humanity has drifted further and further from the Creator, from the universal Fa principles, and from their opportunity for salvation. However, in his article, Master Li also points out that hope remains. If people can awaken, return to traditional moral values, let go of attachments to fame, gain, and emotion, and follow the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, they can transcend delusion, see the truth, and find the path back to their origin. The article, Why is Human Society Deluded?, is not only a warning, but also guidance for those still lost in the world. Time is running out, and humanity must cherish this final opportunity, or they will miss a once-in-a-millennium chance. Although the final moment has not yet arrived, in recent years, people have gradually come to recognize Master Li Hongzhi's profound insights. However, there are still those who refuse to believe. Master Li Hongzhi has stated that regardless of who he is or where he comes from, people in the future will see what he has achieved, and they will realize that it was all his doing. Choosing his birthday as the day to introduce Falun Dafa to the world, Master Li Hongzhi once said, "I have come to this world in this lifetime to spread this Fa, and I do not want to see any being destroy itself, so I have come for you."